Enterprise will wait. She's not going anywhere.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you've not found me before, and if you're back after seeing the last few videos, you'll know that I'm in the middle of BookTreK 2023. I'm co-hosting it with a few other people that I'll link below. The event was created by Vin from Revenant Reads. It's a really nice opportunity to read some Trek fiction, which I didn't really do a lot. So I've loved Star Trek all my life, and I've had lots of non-fiction books about Star Trek, but I've not really delved into the fiction of Trek much. I read one book last year as for taking part in a gentle way, and this year I'm going to read a lot more than that. And this was the first book, and actually this was a book that I kept seeing being recommended as a really good example of Trek fiction. So this was Peter David's New Frontier series, the first one in that series. It's got a subtitle, House of Cards, so it's not on the cover for some reason, but it is actually on the inside bit. So it says House of Cards here. So it's not quite so weird that you can see that online. It is actually called that, but they don't put it on the cover. And the big selling point is new ship, new crew, and new mission. And not only was this attractive to me because people kept saying how good it was, but also I love the idea of a new ship, a new crew, and a new mission. I think that could have been done a lot more, to be fair, on Star Trek. And maybe they didn't do that because there's that feeling that you want to get to know characters and get invested in them. So if they kept bringing new crews up, that might be a bit weird. But one of my favourite, well, my all-time favourite episode of Voyager actually is the two-parter Equinox. And one of the things I love about it is that other crew as well, having that intermingling with the Voyager crew. But anyway, this one, Peter David, I know him from his reputation in general is very prolific, but he has a connection with Babylon 5, and I love Babylon 5 as well. So I went into this with high expectations, and I was disappointed. So this is the sort of thing that on my channel I don't tend to talk about stuff that I don't particularly like. I just don't bother talking about it much. But when you do an event like this, and this is the first book in an event I'm doing, I will talk about it. So maybe that's quite a good thing that you end up being forced to talk about it, because then there's a little bit of nuance, a little bit of shade in your reviews. And this, I think the writing wasn't that great. So even though Peter David's very respected and popular, I think sometimes the writing was really too conversational. Silly things like, I know there was one bit where he put the word literally in a sentence that really didn't need the word literally. And it's that sort of thing that goes into that kind of like, it sounds like you're being talked to by an enthusiastic friend rather than a writer. So that sort of thing is in the book too much, and it felt a bit weird. I mean, there was another sentence that was like 2 words that don't make sense unless someone's speaking it. So it was that kind of tone to it. And maybe that's the thing about this kind of spin-off tie-in fiction, because I haven't read that much of that kind of thing. And if that's the case, and it's a good example of it because that's a standard thing anyway, then that's fine. I'll get used to that. But I thought it was a detriment to the writing. It was a symptom of not bad writing, but not particularly great writing. So he decided that he'd build the book up by bringing in the characters slowly and bringing the plot in slowly, which I understand why he did it, but this is definitely book 1 of a series of books. And I don't think, I said this before when I read the First Law trilogy, or the first book in the First Law trilogy, I think books should stand up on their own as well as being connected to other books. So this doesn't really stand up on its own. It's got this to be continued bit at the end. And the to be continued bit feels like the to be continued happened after, 10 minutes of an episode or 20 minutes of an episode rather than a full episode. It does seem like Peter David could have put a different kind of pace to it, a different focus, different accent on the narrative structure, so that you've got more. So you got that sense of a new ship, a new crew, new mission in this book, but it feels like it's going to build it up possibly over 3 books. I don't know. Hopefully not. So I do think that's detrimental to the book as well. So not massively impressed. I will read the next one to see how it develops and if it gets better. And I feel like I might enjoy the actual crew once they get put into the story. And the character, that guy, he's called Mackenzie Callan. It's the Irish spelling of Callan, so some people might say Calhoun, but it's an Irish name that the Irish would say Callan. He's the captain, and he's an interesting character. It's not, they haven't done that much with it in this book, but I can see there's potential there because he's got this sort of more savage, animalistic history in his past. I think that's what they're going with. So yeah, you can see how they might use that. And there's a couple of other characters they put in there to sort of build it up, but there's not enough really to say how, you can't really get a sense of how good the whole series is going to be because not a lot happens. There's an interesting set piece. There's a little action thing that happens towards the end. There's a confrontation that I imagine must have been good because I nearly missed the stop of my bus when I was reading it. So I must have been engrossed. So that must be a good thing. But overall, disappointed. Where's the crew? Where's the crew? I want the crew.